Welcome to Trash Talk MMA.
Smile on my face, behind my back, they talk trash.
The #1 podcast for news and insight that matters in the world of mixed martial arts. Brought to you live and unfiltered from all four corners of the globe by MMA aficionado Antoine Pelche.
Yo, and welcome to the Trash Talk MMA podcast. I'm your host, Antoine Pelche. Welcome to part 2 of my interview of Managing Director of Tiger Muay Thai, Will Elliott. We're going to pick up right now where we left off at the end of episode 16. You know, in this fight camp, I've been here for a couple of years. I walk around, I see, I've seen Patrick Cote, I see James McSweeney hitting the pads up there, I see Roger Huerta training the heck out of guys. You also function as a fight camp, an official fight camp, and you're beginning to have all sorts of prominent fighters in the world's most prominent fight leagues. What leagues is Tiger Muay Thai represented in, and who are the key fighters that are part of this new movement?
Okay, about 3 years ago, I rebranded the entire MMA program. I staffed it with world-class trainers, Roger Huerta, Brian Ebersol, and Fernando Macachero, the 5th degree, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. So the idea was to make a world-class coaching staff, which we did.
Excellent. Now, on top of having, top caliber training from Roger Huerta or Brian Ebersol, these guys are still competing in the world's best organizations.
Yes, that is correct. Brian Ebersol is no longer here. He was with us for 2 years,
okay,
but we're still friends with him, and he will come over periodically for a seminar. But Roger Huerta is currently contracted to the 1FC, as is James McSweeney, and we have a lot of fighters, in-house fighter. We have our fight team that lives here and is based in Phuket, 9 to 10 months out of the year. And then we have the guys that also pass through right before a fight. So right now we have fighters in 1FC, in UFC, Legacy, which is a US-based mixed martial arts promotion, Valentina Shevchenko. Rankings came out. She just made top 10
Fantastic.
in the world.
Okay.
She's a 16-time world Muay Thai champion with mixed martial arts experience as well. Which
active UFC fighters are part of the Tiger Muay Thai family?
Okay, right now, Maribek Taisumov, Zubaira Tukagov, and we have Nick Hein at the moment. He's a German UFC fighter that's doing his fight camp out here at the moment. Yeah, so we have 3 UFC fighters on our roster, and we have a bunch of guys that are right on the brink. We've got a guy, Bruno Robusto, is fighting for the Road FC title. He's 7-1 in mixed martial arts, and he's got about 30 Thai boxing fights. He's a dangerous guy. Keep your eye on him. We've got Shea Walsh. I believe he's 13-3 and fighting in Bama.
Okay.
Right. We have Alex Volkanovski.
Yep.
Fighting in Australia and in PXC. He's 9-1.
Fantastic.
Okay, we've got another guy, George Hickman, that's 7-2.
I mean, I've heard awesome stuff about Shea and Alex. I'm going to try to get them on the show there this week. Right. And I know, speaking to Sam Baston, he's got nothing but praise for these guys, and that it sounds like they're poised to do some great things. As I'm sure you're aware of.
We've got Tariq Sullivan, who's representing us in Desert Force quite well. He'll be fighting for the title. So Bruno Robusto is fighting for the Road FC title, and he's 7-1 pro MMA. Alex Volkanovski, they're fighting for PXC. He's 9-1. I mean, these are real good records that are getting close to, UFC status there.
Yeah.
Then we've got Valentina Shevchenko. She just won an MMA fight 2 days ago. Puts her Sherdog up to 4-1, but she's really 12-1. But she's been fighting for so long over in like Kazakhstan that they don't even have record.
Yeah. Just grimy, man. Yeah. Just grinding out fights that aren't even on the record books, right?
Yeah. So we're trying to dig up.
It's awesome.
Yeah. If we can get that her Sherdog updated, she'll probably expect to see her in the UFC for sure. She's 16-time world Muay Thai champion.
Okay. Yeah. Right. Gnarly.
Yeah.
So you finally get guys into the UFC that are considered to be born and bred out of your camp.
Right.
What has that done for the exposure of Tiger Muay Thai on the international scene?
Well, I think the world really took notice. Basically, after we rebranded the MMA program and staffed it with world-class trainers, we started attracting all types of high-level guys, and we had a lot of high-level training partners here at the camp as well. Talking about Zub and Marabek, they didn't have UFC contracts. Like, they got UFC contracts. They were training here and kicking ass, in M1 and fight nights in Russia, and then got signed to the UFC.
So, speak to that. Did the UFC scout you guys out and want part of your guys? Did you guys make the initiative towards the UFC? How did that relationship come about between Tiger Muay Thai and the UFC?
Okay. It didn't land in our laps, we'll put it that way. In life, you have to be proactive. You can't sit around and wait for opportunity, you have to make it. So, Roger Huerta felt that these guys were UFC caliber, so he put them across to the UFC, their profile. And obviously, the UFC is the UFC. They're not gonna sign someone they think is unqualified. So they agreed with Roger, and they signed them. Now I think Marabek's 3-1 in the UFC, and I think him and Zub, they're both coming off first round knockouts.
Yep.
Yeah, so they've had real success. We have another guy named Arby. He has so many fights in Russia that just... I think he's on like a 6-fight win streak or something. We expect him to get signed to the UFC.
Yeah, there's a tremendous presence of Russians on this strip and in the facility. I mean, what's that? That must be a unique part of your business. You know, I think it's not often evident for Russians to travel to many parts of the world just due to the sort of the volatile nature of their passports. But Thailand is a place that they can freely come and travel to and train.
Right. Well, of course, I launched a Russian marketing initiative a long time ago, like probably almost 2 years ago. We started doing social media marketing in the Russian language, and then our first breakthrough was with, I think, Marabek Taisumov, because he came over here. And through a connection we had with MMA Vienna. So, a longtime guest, Lucas Storfa, he was saying, "Hey, I've got these really tough MMA guys. I think they should come over here." And I'm like, "Where are you from?" He's like, "Oh, Vienna." And I was like, "You mean Austria?" And I just I didn't think that there would be...
How's that part of the scene, right?
Right. But outside of Chechnya, Vienna or Austria has the largest amount of Chechen refugees population, right?
Really? Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, when they fled war-torn Chechnya.
Okay.
Right, so he had these really tough Chechens. They came over here and they fell in with Roger, and they got on really well with Roger. And then
interesting.
The tipping point in Russia for us was we had a gentleman here named Omari. He was making his UFC debut in Brazil he was a huge underdog, and he ended up getting knockout of the night, surprised everyone, right? And he did his pre-fight camp here. And then Marabek and Zub were both signed to the UFC and then successful in their debuts, and all that happened in a short period of time. So there was kind of a mysticism surrounding Tiger Muay Thai in Russia, and everyone thought they had to come, and they did. They came in droves.
Fantastic. Now, obviously, with your facility being based in Southeast Asia, you've created a very strong alliance with One Championship, which used to be formerly named One FC, now rebranded One Championship. Speak on that relationship a little bit.
Okay, One Championship is a great outlet for I would say that they're leading the Asian markets.
And they're based out of Singapore. Yeah,
it's a Singapore-based promotion, but they do travel around. I mean, they've done shows in Dubai. They're getting very busy with China. I saw they just announced 3 big shows for China in the near future. So they're definitely the industry leaders in this area. So that's a great outlet for Asian fighters.
And you guys have some prominent fighters. So James McSweeney is fighting in ONE FC, and Roger Huerta is currently fighting there. Do you guys have anyone else?
No, not in-house guys, but we have a ton of guys that are contracted to the ONE FC that stop by. So, prior to their camp.
Okay, so they come in here for a tune-up.
Yeah, we have a real good relationship with them. We do a lot of fighter development stuff with them as well.
Okay. So when you speak about fighter development, explain that. What's your concept of fighter development, and how is that implemented at Tiger Muay Thai within the facility and in other places?
Okay, I think that our goal is aligned with One Championship in a lot of ways. Now, I think it's safe to say that Asia isn't really up to Western standards in terms of mixed martial arts yet. in terms of wrestling, in terms of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. But
so do you actually mean in terms of the quality of the fighters themselves, or do you mean in terms of public perception and in terms mainstream of integration?
Honing their skill set and bringing it up to world-class standards. Now, I think that all the right ingredients are there. Okay, so Asian people, they're born fighters. I mean, they're, whether it be Kung Fu or Muay Thai, and so they have lots of heart, right? But the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and the MMA, it's just newer here. It's newer.
The wrestling, the weight cutting,
right?
Those are all very foreign concepts.
Right. So fighter development, we're trying to help get Asia or Southeast Asia up to like Brazil and US and European standards. And I think that can easily be done because the fighters have a lot of heart and talent. Like the Cambodian fighters are very, very good with their striking. They're tough as nails. Okay. The Thai fighters have an incredible amount of striking experience, but very limited wrestling and jiu-jitsu. So we're trying to round that out. We're working.
So how does that actually occur? When you say Tiger Muay Thai does fighter development, what are the steps?
Okay. I will cite very specific examples.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay. So we've been working with MIMA, which stands for Malaysian Invasion Mixed Martial Arts.
Okay.
Now, they launched an amateur tournament in Malaysia to find the top amateur talent in the entire country, right? And they're going into season 3. And we've been working with them and sponsoring them on some level since the very beginning. So
is this a Malaysian Ultimate Fighter type?
Yeah, it kind of is.
Type program?
No one in Malaysia knew what mixed martial arts was till Mima started throwing cage fights in super malls.
So they'd put a cage in a mall, like at a shopping mall?
Yeah, and people stopped
and just watched dudes throw down.
Yeah, yes, and anyone could sign up.
Awesome.
I think they had about 500 people sign up. I mean,
and how many people left on the stretcher?
No. They're very good about safety.
Really?
They're probably they're by far the most professional amateur organization on the face of the earth.
Interesting.
Oh, no, I mean you can log in and it streams live from anywhere with an internet connection. It's world-class lighting and sound. Yes, fantastic.
But I mean, the people signing up aren't people just wandering through the mall. These are people.
Oh no, sometimes it is. Sometimes it is.
Okay, so you get a whole shit mix of different goons coming into this thing.
Right, and they travel around to different regions of Malaysia, and eventually, after they go through, the semifinals and the ladder matches and things like that, what's left is the cream of the crop, meaning the top mixed martial artists in the country, and
fantastic.
Then they come out here for training. We break them up into separate teams led by our coaches, right?
Okay, so MIMA will position key fighters that they feel could benefit from development by training at Tiger Muay Thai. You guys bring them in, hone their skills.
Yep. Okay. And because they will actually face each other in the finals live at Stadium Negara, right? Around the world, streamed.
Okay.
Right?
Now, at this point, are they branded as Tiger Muay Thai fighters?
No. No, they're Toon Talk and Malaysian Invasion fighters because Toon Talk is the major sponsor.
Okay.
But we are a sponsor because we sponsor their training and right, I mean this is growing MMA on a grassroots level.
In Southeast Asia.
Yes. And we're not doing it just in Malaysia. We're doing it in China, we're doing it in the Middle East, we're doing it in Cambodia. So I'll cite an example of one way in which we're working with One Championship. So One Championship, they do a lot of fighter development stuff too. Sometimes we partner with them, like we collaborated with One Championship and Naga World, which is, they sponsor all the MMA in Cambodia, right? Okay. So Cambodians, like I said, they're tough as nails. They have their own style of striking called Kun Khmer. It's identical to Thai boxing, pretty much. They're just arguing about the name.
Okay.
But so the Cambodian
semantics thing.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Over who created it, right? So Khmer boxing, it's pretty much identical to Muay Thai. Okay. So those Cambodian fighters have hundreds of fights, and they're very, very tough, but they don't have the proper wrestling and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So we partnered with One Championship. The winners of a Grand Prix that One Championship threw in Phnom Penh came here on an all-expense paid trip by One Championship and Naga World and us.
Okay.
And once they get here, we sponsor their accommodation, their training schedule, and their meals.
So they get trained, they get a roof over their head, they get food in their bellies. Again, right. Comprehensive.
Right, and the coaches look after their training schedule as well.
Okay.
So basically
these guys get the luxury. They just show up and train their asses off, right, and everything is taken care of.
They are definitely living in dorm rooms, but hey, they're getting protein, they're getting healthy meals, they're getting tutelage under Professor Macachero, under Roger, and the other coaches. We have Chan Rathana here right now, and he's going to be making his pro One Championship debut March 13th in Kuala Lumpur in One Championship. And
Fantastic.
Right now, he is showing up twice a day, doing whatever the coaches ask. He's training a lot of wrestling. He's training a lot of MMA, a lot of BJJ. Yeah, so this is taking a guy.
Yeah.
We are turning him into
a professional
mixed
world-class
martial artist.
fighter.
And he's making his pro debut on March 13th. So that's fighter development.
Very cool.
Talking a little bit more about fighter development. We partnered with Kunlun. I don't know if you're familiar with them. Kunlun is probably the most active organization in China. They put on multiple shows per month. They're not only in China, but they're a Chinese-based promotion. So we have a fighter development program with them as well. They send their top talent over for training. So basically, the top MMA talent in China, we are their official destination in Thailand, which they come for Thai boxing and MMA training. So they send guys through all the time. We look after their Muay Thai, their BJJ, their wrestling, their MMA. Yeah, we've had a great time with that. And that, again, was a marketing initiative that I launched. That's a social media and video marketing campaign in Mandarin.
Wow. So I mean, you got a lot of different ingredients in the mix here. You guys are just involved in such a multifaceted way with Muay Thai, with MMA, with these individual martial arts. I mean, there's really nothing that somebody could need for that they can't find at Tiger Muay Thai.
Right, and we also happen to be in paradise, so that helps.
Yeah, I can attest to. It's very nice to wake up every day to 30 degrees sunny weather,
and things are very, very cheap in comparison to Western countries.
Yeah.
So we have some similar things going on in the Middle East. We're starting to work with Desert Force as well. So those guys, they have market share in the Middle East, I would say.
Desert Force is a leading MMA organization in the Middle East?
Yes, there are others, but they pretty much have a chokehold on the industry.
Okay.
Right? Yeah, so those guys, I have a lot of respect for those guys. It's three gentlemen that started doing MMA before anyone knew what MMA was, and now they have a deal with NBC, which is
awesome.
Right. So
I mean, listen, we touched on this earlier. It's the early bird gets the worm, right? These guys, guys like yourself, you've hustled to get where you're at. These guys have hustled, been involved with the sport for ages, and it's bearing fruit.
Oh, my hats are really off to those guys because due to the climate over there, MMA was not well received.
Can imagine.
And now they have a reality TV show on NBC, and that's another fighter development thing that we're doing. We sponsored a couple of the winners to come out here for training, accommodation, and round out their skill set. Obviously, those guys, they're winning in Desert Force, have skills already, but they come over here to work on their Muay Thai, to work on their mixed martial arts, to just to improve.
Very cool.
So we have some exciting things coming down the pipeline involving the Middle East, but I can't really talk too much about that now.
All right. Well, what I do want you to open up about is another, sort of high-profile aspect of your camp is that while visiting and training at Tiger Muay Thai, not only can you see a lot of high-profile trainers and current fighters, you also bring in a lot of interesting guests to conduct seminars. Who have you had come through here, and what's on your slate for 2015 in terms of guests coming in here to speak and train people on a one-off basis?
Okay, the list of people that we've had here is so long. I'll just rifle off a few names.
Yeah, I can see you looking around your office here.
No, I'm looking at
there's posters of all of these
right.
legends that have come through here.
I have more posters than I have space on the wall. But the first UFC fighter that ever came here was my man Elvis Sinisek.
Yep.
Right? Phil Baroni, Dave Monet.
Love Phil Baroni.
Kat Zingano, Kyle Kingsbury, Giuliano Prado, Brian Ebersol, Hoist Gracie twice, Dong Young Kim, Eddie Bravo, Murillo Bustamante, Roger Huerta, George St. Pierre. I mean, the list goes on and on and on and on.
I think you had recently Cyril DiBiase.
Oh yeah, he was the last person to give a seminar. Right, he was. He's a very decorated striker, Cyril the Snake Diabate. So that's the second seminar that he's given out here. He sent some fighters over from France. So it's a lot. It's about relationships. We have a lot of nice relationships with. Keep these guys coming through, doing seminars. Sending fighters to the camp, things like that. Now, I would like to talk about a couple exciting things that are happening in the early stages of 2015.
All right, I need some exclusives here, so give me some juice.
This is something that hasn't been released yet, but will be. Okay.
Yep.
The next up for a seminar is my man Alan Belcher. Now, this guy really uses his Muay Thai and MMA quite effectively.
Yeah.
So
the talent.
Not only
love Belcher.
Yeah, Alan Belcher, my man. Also, he's
when can we expect to see Belcher come through?
Oh, he's going to come through here for I think about 3 weeks. March 30th. Right.
All right.
He's going to be here all the way till April 23rd. He will be giving a seminar. He's coming over with 20 people.
Wow.
In addition, him and I will be talking a lot about social media and web strategy as well.
Okay.
I think I don't know if people realize how intelligent and how good at marketing Alan Belcher is. He's fantastic.
Excellent.
Right, so
I'd love to speak with him too. Hopefully we can line something up. Maybe get both of you in here and speak about how you got him out here and what his objectives are here, and give him a little promotional boost.
Yeah, I met Alan in Dubai. He's actually been to the camp 2 times. This will be his third.
Okay.
But we never crossed paths before.
Okay.
So I met him first in Dubai. I have a ton of respect for him as a businessman and as a mixed martial artist. So he will be teaching a seminar utilizing Muay Thai in mixed martial arts.
Okay. Yeah, I love Alan the Talent Belcher, and in particular his fight against Husamar Palhares, where he went to the ground with him and just said, "Screw it, dude. You're not heel hooking me." He actually gave him his leg and then pounded him out for a knockout. Yeah. And I know a lot of guys, in particular people who have been victim to the infamous knee bars and heel hooks of Palhares, were like, "Thank you, Mr. Belcher."
Yeah, he likes to hold on to those, doesn't he? Okay, another really cool initiative that's kind of groundbreaking that we're doing this year is we're doing a BTT, a Brazilian Top Team World Camp. This involves affiliates from around the world. Brazilian Top Team headquarters is based in Rio de Janeiro, headed up by President Murillo Bustamante. He's a 6th degree Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. He's a former UFC middleweight champion. He's a Pride veteran. He has been fighting Vale Tudo or mixed martial arts before the UFC even existed.
Yep. Oh, anybody who knows his MMA knows the name Murillo Bustamante. He's an absolute legend.
Right. So Brazilian Top Team is one of the most widely respected BJJ brands in the world. So this is going to be affiliates from all around the world convening on Phuket for a 10-day intensive seminar. We may have as many as 20 black belts in attendance, and that's also happening right around the holiday of Songkran, and we also have a grappling tournament called Songkran Scramble, and that also coincides with when Alan Belcher's group will be here. So it'll be a really talented group of individuals that will be here at that time.
What are the objectives of these seminars?
Okay, the objectives... Oh, sorry. The seminars...
Yeah, so there's this BTT World... Like, what are the objectives of this? Because you said it's quite a long period of time that they're going to be here for. The
objective of the BTT World Camp is for affiliates and Tiger guests to have access to a ton of world-class instructors. Like I said, there might be as many as 20 black belts here, and they'll be rotating instructors. I mean, Rolo's going to instruct Fernando Macachero, our 5th degree black belt, will instruct, and there will be all kinds of guest instructors from these affiliates. So
yeah, the reason I ask is because for some people the concept of a seminar is I sit in a room, with a pad and pen or a microphone recording somebody speaking of their service or their craft. But here we're talking about real hands-on instruction.
Yeah, these guys are going to be doing BJJ. They're going to be doing MMA. They're going to be doing Muay Thai. It's definitely going to be a BJJ focused thing, right? So 10 days of just world-class learning with all kinds of high-level instructors rotating through. So it's a special thing.
So it seems like you're going to transition from the presence of Alan Belcher here to the Brazilian top team turnout, and that those two, that's going to get things fired up starting at the end of the month and lead clean through into Songkran, which, if anybody doesn't know, that's the Thai New Year celebration.
Probably the best time of the year to be here.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
It's a nationwide water fight, which is a lot more fun than it sounds. It's a celebration. The entire country shuts down just to have a good time and just celebrate, and we're gonna have a grappling tournament. Yeah, it's gonna be really nice.
Very cool. Very cool. Any other initiatives coming down the pipe that you can let out of the bag right now?
Well, there's things coming down the pipeline, but not that I can let out of the bag.
All right. I want to make sure that for as long as I'm here, that I'm helping you break the news on these things. Let's get the word out and get as many people coming out here to attend these pretty spectacular events that you guys are hosting.
Cool.
That brings us to the conclusion of part 2 of the Trash Talk MMA podcast interview with Managing Director Will Elliott of Tiger Muay Thai. Join us tomorrow for part 3. We'll pick up where we left off. Peace.
Thanks for listening to the Trash Talk MMA podcast. Be sure to visit trashtalkmma.com.
On my face, behind my back, they talk trash.
And don't forget to follow Antoine on Twitter at Trash Talk MMA. Let us know you're listening. Use hashtag Trash Talk MMA.
Yeah, so we have 3 UFC fighters on our roster, and we have a bunch of guys that are right on the brink. We've got a guy, Bruno Robusto, is fighting for the Road FC title. He's 7-1 in mixed martial arts, and he's got about 30 Thai boxing fights. He's a dangerous guy. Keep your eye on him. We've got Shea Walsh. I believe he's 13-3 and fighting in Bama.
Okay.
Right. We have Alex Volkanovski. Fighting in Australia and in PXC. He's 9-1.
Fantastic.
Okay, we've got another guy, George Hickman, that's 7-2.
I've heard awesome stuff about Shea and Alex. I'm going to try to get them on the show there this week. Right. And I know, speaking to Sam Baston, he's got nothing but praise for these guys, and that it sounds like they're poised to do some great things, as I'm sure you're aware of.
We've got Tariq Sullivan, who's representing us in Desert Force quite well. He'll be fighting for the title. So Bruno Robusto is
also function as a fight camp, an official fight camp, and you're beginning to have all sorts of prominent fighters in the world's most prominent fight leagues. What leagues is Tiger Muay Thai represented in, and who are the key fighters that are part of this new movement?
Okay, about 3 years ago, I rebranded the entire MMA program. I staffed it with world-class trainers, Roger Huerta, Brian Ebersol, and Fernando Macachero, the 5th degree, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. So the idea was to make a world-class coaching staff, which we did.
Excellent. Now, on top of having, top caliber training from Roger Huerta or Brian Ebersol, these guys are still competing in the world's best organizations.
Yes, that is correct. Brian Ebersol is no longer here. He was with us for 2 years, but we're still friends with him, and he will come over periodically for a seminar. But Roger Huerta is currently contracted fighting for the Road FC title, and he's 7-1 pro MMA. Alex Volkanovski, fighting for PXC, he's 9-1. I mean, these are real good records that are getting close to, UFC status there.
Yeah.
Then we've got Valentina Shevchenko. She just won an MMA fight 2 days ago. Puts her Sherdog up to 4-1, but she's really 12-1. But she's been fighting for so long over in Kazakhstan that they don't even have record.
Yeah, just grimy, man. Yeah. Just grinding out fights that aren't even on the record books, right?
Yeah, so we're trying to dig up.
It's awesome.
Yeah. If we can get that, her Sherdog updated, she'll probably expect to see her in the UFC for sure. She's 16-time world Muay Thai champion.
Okay, yeah, right. Gnarly.
Yeah.
So you finally get guys into the UFC that are considered to be born and bred out of your camp.
Right.
What has that done for the exposure of Tiger Muay Thai?
Welcome to Trash Talk MMA,
Smile on my face, behind my back, they talk trash.
the #1 podcast for news and insight that matters in the world of mixed martial arts. Brought to you live and unfiltered from all four corners of the globe by MMA aficionado Antoine Pelche.
Yo, and welcome to the Trash Talk MMA podcast. I'm your host, Antoine Pelche. Welcome to part 2 of my interview of Managing Director of Tiger Muay Thai, Elliott. We're going to pick up right now where we left off at the end of episode 16. You know, in this fight camp, I've been here for a couple of years. I walk around, I see, I've seen Patrick Cote, I see James McSweeney hitting the pads up there, I see Roger Huerta training the heck out of guys. You
to the 1FC, as is James McSweeney, and we have a lot of fighters, in-house fighter. We have our fight team that lives here and is based in Phuket, 9 to 10 months out of the year. Then we have the guys that also pass through right before a fight. So right now we have fighters in 1FC, in UFC, Legacy, which is a US-based mixed martial arts promotion, Valentina Shevchenko. Rankings came out. She just made top 10
Fantastic.
in the world.
Okay.
She's a 16-time world Muay Thai champion with mixed martial arts experience as well.
Which active UFC fighters are part of the Tiger Muay Thai family?
Okay, right now, Maribek Taisumov, Zubaira Tukagov, and we have Nick Hein at the moment. He's a German UFC fighter that's doing his fight camp out here at the moment.